All right, we are finally good to go, so let's get going. I want to thank everybody for being with us here this morning, or I guess depending on where you are this afternoon or this evening. My name is Phil Bowers. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at Grantstream. I'm going to be joined by one of our Senior North America Support Engineers, Fareed, in just a couple of moments, about 10-15 minutes, as we go through today's UCM Series training webinar. We are going to do a little bit of, we're going to cover a little bit of different content and a little bit of additional content actually than what we had planned to cover here today. The title was CTI, Computer Telephony Integration, CRM, Customer Relationships Management, and Call Center Functionality. We're going to cover some of those three things, definitely a little bit more on the CRM side. Some of the call center functionality that we were hoping to cover will be available, and some upcoming firmware upgrades, so we'll probably preview that. But what today is mainly going to focus on are basically all of the new features that are available that we have added to the UCM series in the last 6 months or so. So it's going to cover some of the three things that are in the headline here, but there's a lot of additional features, functionality. We will also cover property management systems for those of you that may have been with us yesterday. Some of the things that we did talk about yesterday that we kind of teased as new features, we will talk about today, in addition to some of the other new features that we have added to the UCM throughout the year. Basically today, Fareed's presentation today is going to use a lot more, or rely a lot more on slides to just kind of promote these new features, and I'm sure he'll probably be switching back and forth between that and a web user interface on some things just to show you actually how to set it up and how to take advantage of it. So I'm going to begin with a little bit of an introduction here, 15 minutes or so into our UCM series of IP PBXs. For those of you that did join us yesterday, this introduction I'm going to give today is a little bit different than the one that you saw yesterday, so it won't be a repeat of anything that you did see yesterday. So yeah, let's get going. So our most popular UCM series is the UCM 6200 series, which many of you know as the UCM 6100 series. Both the 6100 series and the 6200 series are pretty much identical. There's a couple of additional features and functionality added into the 6200, which I will highlight for you here on the next couple of slides. But the main UCMs that we have in our portfolio now are the UCM 6200 series. Again, just a continuation of the 6100 series, same features, same functionality. We just had to put a little bit of a different chip in it, so we had to give it a little bit of, a different name, but all the features, functionality, user interface, and whatnot is the same. We also have our UCM 6510, which is more of an enterprise-grade IP PBX, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes. So our UCM 6200 series, to kind of take a couple of steps back and go back 4 years ago to when we actually released this product, you know, the reason that we got into the IP PBX marketplace, I would say, is very similar to the reason why we got into the video conferencing marketplace, to the Wi-Fi marketplace, now to the facility access solution marketplace. Basically, we observed that the market has traditionally ignored small to medium-sized businesses within the IP PBX marketplace. Traditionally, IP PBXs or the traditional legacy PBX were extremely expensive, extremely complicated. They were basically off limits for small to medium-sized businesses. They were pretty much catered to enterprises with large purchasing power and a large IT team to manage it. And we saw that if there's anyone out there that can benefit from the advanced customization, having full access and full control over your communication solution, the ability to customize it as you need it, is actually more advantageous a lot of times to small to medium-sized businesses. So that's where the UCM series of IP PBXs came from. We set out to create not just a voice PBX, but a true unified communication manager, which is where that UCM acronym comes from, to allow businesses of all sizes, essentially, but mainly small to medium-sized businesses, to set up and customize complete unified communication networks in a device that was easy for them to manage, that gave them all the features that they could possibly have access to without any licensing fees or annual costs. So the 6100 series has, or 6200 series, excuse me, 3 different models within it. a 2FXO port version, a 4FXO port version, an 8FXO port version. You're going to get up to 100 concurrent calls and 32 conference attendees. To kind of break that down a little bit for you, I'll break that down for you on the next slide. Like all of our UCM models, dual gigabit network ports, integrated PoE. It allows the UCMs themselves to be powered by PoE, not to give out PoE. That's always a good question or a big question that we get. All of them also have USB SD card ports for expandable memory, for adding music on hold, et cetera, et cetera. One of the best things about these devices, obviously mainly if you're installing GrandStream devices, is that zero configuration endpoint provisioning. Basically, our UCM is able to go out and auto-discover any GrandStream endpoint on the same network as it, and then it can zero config or automatically configure those devices for you in just a couple of moments. Make setup and installation quick and easy. So as I mentioned, you're going to get, it says 800 SIP endpoints. That's on the 6208, the 6202, and 6204 support 500. So that is one little bit of a change from the 6100 series to the 6200 series. That 8-port version, the 6208 versus the 6108, will give you, I believe it's an additional 40 concurrent calls. I believe the 6208 or 6108 supported 60 concurrent calls. So you get an extra 40 concurrent calls with the 6208, and you get an extra 300 users, endpoints, registrations, etc. It supports up to 800 users, where the other 6200 series devices support 500 endpoints or users. You see the dual-core 1 gigahertz processor, 1 gigabit of RAM for enhanced capacity and speed, and as we mentioned, the three different models, a 2-port version, a 2 FXS port version, or 2 FXO port version, a 4 FXO port version, and an 8 FXO port version. So one of the best things about our UCM series of IP PBXs, and one of the things that we're really going to highlight here today, is that there are no licensing fees included, and we are constantly adding features and functionality to the UCM through firmware upgrades that are always free. The firmware upgrades are always free, that add great features and functionality to it. Everything that we're going to talk about here today, everything you're going to hear from Fareed, are all new things that we have added within the last 6 to 8 months or so. So some of the things that you see here on this slide are some of the things that we have added. Most of what you see here was added later last year or earlier this year. I'm not sure we're really going to concentrate on too many of the things you see here on the slide today, as we have actually newer and somewhat more exciting stuff on some of them. But just to kind of highlight some of the things that we've added in the last 6 to 8 months. We've upgraded the operating system of the UCM to Asterisk 13. Many of you are, I'm sure, familiar with Asterisk, one of the most popular and powerful open source PBX platforms. Asterisk 13 is one of their newer and their most stable version, and we just upgraded the entire, actually at the end of last year, the entire UCM interface to Asterisk 13. We now have a setup wizard involved. There's an announcement center that allows you to schedule announcements to go out to various endpoints. We now support the ability to have multiple devices per one individual SIP account, SIP and SMS messaging through the UCM to endpoints. Google Calendars can now be integrated right with your UCM for conference call scheduler, or for conference call scheduling or meetings, for example. We now support inbound route, multiple mode, video preview support on video calls, fax sending via the web UI user portal, which can be locked down so that the user can only have access to that fax sending and receiving interface, improved CDR. Again, these are just some of the things that we've added in the last 6 to 8 months. All of this available through free firmware and software upgrades. And everything we're going to talk about here today, which isn't on this slide, are a lot, again, newer and as exciting, if not on some of these things, more exciting features. So just to kind of begin to wrap up my introduction here, some of the great things about taking a step back and going more in general on the UCM series itself, some of the aspects that really allow it to be a great option for really a business of any size, specifically small to medium-sized businesses, and for you if you're a reseller, installer, and integrator. First aspect of it is that everything is fully customizable. As I mentioned, we give you full access to every feature that we can possibly make available to you. You don't have to pay different levels of fees or buy different packages to get different features. We give you everything we can possibly give you, and it is all fully customizable within the web user interface of the UCM. You can go in and customize any of the things that you see here on the screen and many, many more. Call routing, auto attendant, IVRs, call queues, call forwarding, call retrieval, ring group, hunt groups, etc., etc., etc. Everything fully customizable on the UCM interface. In terms of the voice side, we have full support for all of the major voice codecs. You see them here listed here on the screen, including some of the newer popular ones, such as Opus. Obviously, you see G722, the HD wideband codec. Another good thing to mention, it's a little bit more on the technical side. Our UCM actually does do voice codec transcoding as well, which is something that you're usually only going to find from PBXs that cost a lot more than what the UCM costs, to be honest with you. And that basically just ensures that that the call is going to go through with the utmost clarity. If you're making a call to someone who doesn't support your codec, the UCM can find a common codec, or vice versa. If the person that's calling you doesn't support the codec that you're on or that you prefer, can find a common codec to that. So support for all the major voice codecs. A lot of great security features that are built into the UCM. All 6200 series models do have a built-in firewall. The 6102 previously from the 6100 series had that built-in firewall. Traditional network security, SRTP and TLS, that is some pretty high-end security encryption to protect your conversations, protect your accounts, protect your network, blacklist, whitelist. And one of the things that Asterisk 13 added was kind of just a little widget that runs in the background called a real-time Asterisk security monitor. Just an additional feature, basically an additional protocol that is constantly monitoring your UCM and your network to make sure that everything is how it is and that there is nothing being, that your system's not being hacked into or used incorrectly or improperly in any way. I guess now we're kind of just getting into some of the more, I don't want to call them random features, but some of the features that really allow our device to stand out and that are a little bit noteworthy. System backup here, again, never lose your unique configuration files and settings. Everything on a UCM network can be, or on a UCM platform, can be backed up to an external SD card or an internal flash storage or somewhere else on your network. The great thing about this is it allows you to actually also mirror configurations. If you have kind of a common deployment that you have on one UCM, you can back that up and take that to another UCM to actually pretty much mirror that deployment on another UCM. One of the things that I mentioned earlier about these devices about our UCM is it is not just a video, it's not just a voice PBX. Traditionally, people hear the term IP PBX and they think it is mainly for voice. As you saw that round logo we had in a couple of places, our device is a full unified communications manager, which is where that UCM acronym comes from. Gives you the ability to support, again, pretty much any unified communication technology. Obviously, voice is the most common one. Also has full support for video. Any SIP video endpoint, any H.264 video endpoint, whether it be from Grandstream or any other manufacturer, can be used with the UCM. Does support full video, so any call from device to device that supports video or through your UCM you can even add video conferencing to it, video surveillance. All of these video technologies can be integrated with, and all of the video feeds can go streaming through the UCM to other endpoints or to other devices, to network video recorders, to video conferencing systems, what have you that you might be using with it. You see, we kind of just touched on that very quickly. One of the best things about our UCM is it gives you the ability to monitor your business from anywhere. As I mentioned, full support for SIP video, so putting all of your devices, all of your endpoints, whether they be security devices, video devices, voice devices, on the same network allows you to communicate with those devices in such a wide variety of ways, including from outside your business to monitor those IP cameras, to make calls to a video conferencing system just as an extension, for example. So really the ability by using these PBXs to keep in touch with your business from anywhere and access it from anywhere. Just going to see what slides I have coming up here. All right, so just to kind of, again, wrap up the introduction here, these are some of, I talk a lot throughout about some of, we offer pretty much every feature we can offer. I'd like to throw this slide up. It just gives you kind of a basic idea of what we're talking about. These are just a small collection of the many features that the UCM offers, features, functionality, basic and advanced. And as I mentioned, we're constantly adding additional features and functionality to this device, which we will learn about here today. Just want to see what slide I have coming up here. Let me just pop out of this just for a moment. So you want to see what slides I have coming up, see if we can just pop right back in, or if there's anything else I wanted to highlight. Yeah, a couple of last things before we move over, before we move over to Fareed. Bear with me here for 1 second. I know it's showing my second screen again. There we go. All right, just to wrap up my introduction here, 2 more slides from me, and then we'll go over to Fareed. He'll tell you about all the new stuff, show you how to take advantage of it. We talked a lot about recording servers. This is a recording server built right into the web user interface of the UCM. Gives you the ability to access call recordings from the web user interface of the product, which can be accessed from anywhere, as we mentioned. If you're using Grandstream IP phones, we actually also have the ability to support a feature that I like to call one-touch call recording or on-demand call recording, where you can actually push a button on the GXP or the Grandstream phone to start and stop recording and actually have those recordings saved right on the phone itself. A popular question we actually get quite a bit about the UCM series is, does it support fax? And yeah, absolutely. Full support for 238 fax, ability to integrate fax with your IP network, have faxes sent out when they come in, to emails on your network, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so I think that pretty much covers, let's see what else I have here. Conference servers, we talked about that, built-in conference bridges, either 3 or 6 on the 6200 series models. I believe you get 5 or 6 on the 6510, which is that enterprise-grade IP PBX I was telling you about earlier, which supports up to 2,000 users, 200 concurrent calls. And just to throw this up on the slide here, some of the great security features that we offer. We covered this a little bit earlier, but this just gives you some more in-depth information than what I gave you in terms of network layer support, system configuration, and actual application security itself. Something we take very seriously, not just on this, but on our IP phones and our Wi-Fi equipment. All of our devices, you'll notice, will offer state-of-the-art network security. All right, so now is when we transition over to some of the new features and new functionalities, we'll call them, that have been added into the UCM series within the last, call it 6 to 8 months. Some of you may have heard us deem this the UCM application series. And this is just kind of the name that we've come up with to talk about the packages of firmware that we're adding that's going to add all of these new features and functionalities that Fareed's going to tell you about. So just bear with us here for a second. We're going to transfer control of the presentation over to Fareed. How's everybody doing? We will get this back up. I will do that with you.
All right, thank you, Phil. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us to this webinar. So in this presentation, I will be attempting to summarize the new features that we have on the UCM as of the current official firmware on the website, and I will touch also on some of the upcoming, I would say, features or functionalities that you will have on 1.0.14, which is the next build that will be posted, well, first as beta and then will be official. So you will notice a few new features and a completely different web interface that's been reworked and redesigned. So let's just get started with some of the new features that you have on the UCM. So we will see the extension, some of the new features on the extension settings, and then the call center features, call features, trunks and outbound routes that can be scheduled to work only on a certain time frame. Zero config, there is support of different subnets. I will show you where you can set that up. And then PMS, property management system, and CRM integration. Obviously, you will have to have that CRM or PMS software that's running, and then we will show you how you can connect it. It's pretty and self-explanatory. We're just trying to highlight it here that we do support that, and we will show you which ones we support. Some of the new things are networking and security, and then maintenance. Let's just get started. So as you can see, now you can bind the mobile phone number to your extension. You can make it ring at the same time, or at least it will be bound to your extension in the company directory. Call barging privilege. We talked, we introduced the support of call barging, call whispering, different modes of call barging, barge whisper, and listen modes. But now you can set a privilege, you can actually assign that functionality to only certain extensions to be able to barge into your calls. Seamless transfer, custom call info, and then D&D whitelist, and then the hotline support. So the UCM now supports binding a mobile phone number to an extension, and then the user can dial a feature code plus the extensions to directly call the mobile phone number. I can just go back and forth to the web interface. Well, first of all, to get you familiar with the new design of the web interface, and then we will try to retrieve all these features that we're presenting in the PowerPoint, and to see where they go, where they belong, or where they go, where you can set them at the web interface. Sorry, let me just, what's happening on my presentation here?
Yeah, you have a second screen going, maybe.
Yep. Let me just,
happens to me all the time.
Display settings. Let me just bring the other screen, duplicate screens.
There we
There you go. Okay. And let's just go straight to the UCM web interface. Sorry, let me log out. And this is what it looks like. Let's just log in. And here is the new generation software firmware for the UCM with a new design. It's got the status page here that shows you.
Coming soon, right? Not yet available?
How soon?
It's coming soon, right?
It's coming soon, yeah. It should.
Not available now.
Yeah, it's not available, but I mean, we will talk about the features, and
oh yeah, for sure.
You're welcome to open a ticket and request it if you want. We'll be more than happy to give it to you through a ticket, and we will be more than happy again to hear your feedback about it, even before we post it as beta. No problem. So you've got the different, PBX status, and then equipment capacity, configuration partition, and data partition, and then the CPU usage, USB status, SD card, and then it's almost like the old one, but it's a nicer design, I would say. And then you've got the system information, general and network. It's just LAN and WAN interfaces, and then you've got the active calls. You can hang them up. Network status. This is just the different ports you're listening on. As you can see here, for example, I am listening on port 7777. This is the AMI asterisk management interface port. 389 is the LDAP port, so it just shows you what ports are open and you're listening on, and the different connections that you have established. And then you've got the extension. As you can see, it looks the extension and trunk menu remained the same. The only thing I would say that changed is the value added features here. This is where you retrieve the zero config, which we used to have by itself in a different menu. If you're familiar with the old interface, it shouldn't be hard to, navigate through.
Hey, just to interrupt you for a good question that from the chat. All the firmware that's available for the 6200 series also works on the 6100 series?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Including this new update when it is available.
Yep. All the hardware versions will be models hardware versions will be upgraded.
Cool.
To summarize it, the firmware is the same all across the.
There you go.
Let's just explore the different functions that we talked about. These are my extensions. I only have 2 extensions actually registered, and they show idle. Let's edit one of them and look for the mobile phone number that we just mentioned. Obviously, it's as simple as that. You just put it there, mobile phone number, and then we gave you the feature code to dial. So star 88 and then the extension, and you will ring the mobile phone number associated with that. Let me so that's for the phone number, and then call barging. Obviously, as you can see, we don't have to go back to the extension menu, as simple as that. So you see that menu on the extension level, and it says only extension 5000 if I am configuring extension 5001, which is my extension, and then I put Elizabeth Smith is the only one that can barge into my call. So to my extension, that means 5002, 5003, and 4, and 5, and 6, even if they have the feature code to barge into calls, they wouldn't be able to barge into my calls because I'm banning them from this menu here. Seamless transfer, you will see that we support seamless transfer, passive and active, so 2 of them. All you need to do is go to the web interface and of the menu of the extensions under other settings, and then you want to allow that, and then you want to enable it from the feature codes, general feature codes of the UCM. So you've got active transfer and passive transfer. So seamless transfer allows you to make a blind transfer using the UCM feature code without any music on hold presented during the call. So the difference, we'll show you the difference. Actually, you basically need to know, just follow the steps to perform an active seamless transfer and then the passive seamless transfer. And very simple, this is where you enable it. At the extension level, you just go to other settings and enable that. So for the active seamless transfer, so phone A calls phone B, and then phone A dials the active seamless transfer feature code plus the extension or the number to transfer to, and then the call will be transferred. Versus the passive one. The passive one is B calls A, and then, B calls C and establish the call, and then A, which is a different extension, dials the passive seamless transfer code plus B to disconnect B and connect to C. So that's what the passive seamless transfer. But you can stop that. I don't want to be talking to Phil and somebody dials a feature code to disconnect me from Phil so they can talk to them. So I have to allow that. Same thing I did for barging. I can only allow certain people to do that to my extension. Okay, so this should clarify what that is, but it's pretty simple. If you go back to your extension, you should retrieve it there. Let's just go to settings, basic settings, and we should see that under features.
You're on your second screen.
Again?
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I can bring it up there and just leave it there permanently. That's funny. I did save the changes, but yeah, so this is the monitor privilege, which is the call barging. So I can allow Sam, but not Phil, to barge into my calls, and the same thing for the seamless transfer. So you retrieve them from there. All right, let me try to duplicate my screen again, because duplicate, apply, and keep the changes.
My computer does that too. It always
Yeah.
reverts back for some reason.
Sure. So let's go back to the PowerPoint and see what we have for other functionalities and options.
See? Now you're good.
Yep. Just give it some time here. I guess I'll go through all the features and try to come back to the web interface. It's not really convenient to go back and forth. All right, seamless transfer, passive and active, and then the DND whitelist. So obviously here on the screenshots, we're still showing the old web interface, but I just showed you that it looks a little bit, way different than this one, the new design, but the parameters are the same. So I can just say, do not disturb me all the time or anytime. I'll just go with a specific time, but then I can whitelist Phil. Phil, even if I am on D&D, he can always call me. All right, as simple as that. So the hotline support, so basically in the FXS, you can have a phone in your organization plugged into the FXS port, an analog phone, and then enable the hotline and configure it with a phone number. So somebody picks it up, it's just going to dial support, for example. Support hotline, you put an analog phone there. Anybody that needs to dial support, they just you just give them instructions to pick up the handset, and the phone, the UCM, will dial that number. So whitelisting and blacklisting for IVR dialing. So we can just say at the IVR level, we can say, you know, certain extensions cannot be reached from the IVR. So let's say the VP of the company does not want to be bothered by anybody that dials the main line and then either mistakenly or dial their extension. We can allow it, like we selected it here. We said we can allow the extension dialing from the IVR, but then we can only set certain extensions that will be dialed. The other ones cannot be dialed, except with the exception of certain external number calls. So I can say from the IVR, extension 1000 cannot be dialed from the IVR with the exception of these phone numbers. So if Phil cannot be dialed after we reach the IVR, but we can make an exception to his, let's say, home phone number. Somebody calls him from home, they can get through to him. That's what that is. So one key dialing, this is just a speed dial for the whole system. It used to be only one key, now we have a combination of two keys, like I can dial 1, 2, it's just a speed dial to extension 1002. Caller ID replacement. This is requested by so many customers to when they reach the call queue and then the call is picked up or reaches a destination. So let's say the phone that you have here on the left side is it belongs to a ring group, it belongs to a call queue, it belongs, you can reach it through the IVR. So this person that picks up the phone, they want to know through which either ring group or call queue or IVR, or if you have multiple ring groups, they will be able to identify through which call queue or ring group the call came through. This is just a setting that says replace caller ID with the caller ID of that extension, of that ring group. And then call queue custom prompts. This is existing on the UCM 1.0.13.14, which you should have on your system because it's available on the website. So the default destination for, do not get confused, we already have this, but I will show you more call center features on this new web, on this new UCM with the new web interface. We used to have only a default destination on the call queue. Somebody dials. It works exactly very close to a ring group, but now we added a destination with a voice prompt cycle, a voice prompt. So every 60 seconds in this example, you can play a custom prompt where you see that it says none. You can upload or record a custom prompt that says, your call is very important to us. Please remain on the line and somebody will be with you. We'll assist you shortly. Or you can just say, press 1 to leave a message if you want to opt out of the call queue and leave a message. So we already have this, but the new firmware has more call center features that we're still working on and finalized to be released on the next, hopefully beta or official release. Separate wake-up services. This is part of the PMS, so you can schedule wake-up call for this guest that checks in, and then they want a wake-up call every day for the length of his stay, for the whole week that he's staying at this property. They want a wake-up call at 8 a.m. every day. You can do that as a super admin. You can do that as an admin. You can do that as a user. You can do that as a custom privileged user. We talked about these privileges yesterday. Okay. So trunks and routes. So this is, you can just enable and disable a certain route, or you can enable it with a time condition. We used to do this only for outbound routes. Now we can do it for, we used to do this only for inbound routes. We say a call comes in, we can manage it based on a time condition. Now we can do the same thing for outbound routes. So if I have, just example, if I have an organization that only dials Europe from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and I don't want anybody to be able to dial through that line after 12 p.m., I can disable that route after 12 p.m. because there is no need to dial to Europe after 12 p.m. So if somebody's dialing, so they're just taking advantage of the phone system to make personal phone calls. Just an example. So this is where you disable inbound and outbound routes. You just disable them, and we will show you the outbound route. Like in this example, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. you want to dial outbound through route 1, and then 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. you can use only outbound route 2. It could be for different purposes. It could be for shifts. If it's a support center, for some reason you want to display a certain caller ID in the morning, which is tied to route 1, which is line 1, and then 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. it's going to be a different route, for example. And then for the weekend you have route 3. So the same UCM can have different outbound routes. Append an extension number in DoD, so you can create a DoD number 1234, and then the selected extensions are 1000 through 1002. And then if add extension is enabled, the actual DoD that's shown is the number that you select for the DoD, which is 1234, and then the dial-in extension. It's either 1000, 1001, 1002. Why would you want to do this? A lot of people right now would think of an application where this is going to be useful. So I think we removed this from the current UCM. We did not port it over. You can just, we used to do it by country, but you can just look up the country codes and do it yourself. So the restriction using a custom pattern, I'm not sure if this is useful for any of you, but the UCM now allows you to put a specific pattern to restrict outgoing calls. So this will give you flexibility to restrict any specific numbers for specific countries, and we can show you with that what that is. More failover trunks. This is just, we used to have it, but now we can support up to 10 failover trunks. I think we were limited to half of that number before. Zero config. Now you can provision from different subnets. This is exciting for a lot of people that have been asking for this feature. So as you can see, the UCM is sitting here, and you're going through two different broadcast domains here. You're going to from 10 subnet 10.1 to 2 dot something to 10.1.1 instead of 10.1 10.1 to 2. PMS and CRM, there isn't much to show about these unless you could do the test yourself. If you use Salesforce or CRM, you're obviously familiar with them, so you just install it, and basically all the UCM is requesting is the authorization, which is the URL or the IP address and the credentials to be able to interact with that CRM or PMS system. We can just show some of those settings and how you can set them up from the web interface. H-Mobile and PMS. This for PMS support, we support H-Mobile as well as Mitel. And this is how you create your mini bar for the rooms. We briefly talked about this yesterday, but we can show you how you can set it up. For networking and security, we just changed the MTU, the size of the packets, so now it's configurable. Dynamic defense whitelist and fail to ban blacklist, DHCP client list. This is already supported as of the current firmware. Basic IPv6 support as well, if needed. You can use IPv6. Management and access control. We can show some of these features on the web interface. So there is something we did not mention here because it's the CTI, the computer telephony integration, which is already available for the SIP endpoints for the phones. We have the software called GS Affinity. It's free to download from our website. Go to grandstream.com/support/tools. You can download the CTI software for the phones, and we're coming up with a software that will allow you to manage the UCM. So that's bigger, and I know it's exciting for a lot of you that have been asking for this, especially those of you who manage call centers. So you will have a software. I'm not sure if is that going to be free, Phil?
I believe so.
Yeah, just like the SIP endpoint. So you will be free of charge. You can download it, and it will, allow you to access the UCM through that software and manage, drag and drop calls into parking lots and change their destination real time as the call is coming in. It's usually going to the IVR, but you can drag and drop it at a parking lot, or you can manage the let's say a call queue live. You can drag calls and take them to another queue, and so on and so forth. It's an API. It's a great software. I don't have it. I don't even have a copy of it, but we should have it soon, at least for us to test. Improved web GUI. We talked about this. We have seen it already. Web-based call center. This is what I was talking about for the newer firmware. So this is you have a better call queue features. You have the functionality. You have you can have a switchboard that allow you to see live. The ringing phones, the calling, the callers that are on the call queue, and then switchboard gives you a lot of information. And when you have that CTI application, you don't even have to log into the UCM to check out this switchboard. You can have it on that CTI application, which is the next slide. That's what it's about.
Maybe I forgot to.
I think it's my computer.
Yeah, it's a PowerPoint issue.
All right. Anyways, that was the last slide about the CTI, which is just computer is freezing here. That would just give you an idea about what that software looks like. Let me just this. Still switching, but it's okay, we're almost done. Let me go back to that web interface and then show you all those features that we spoke about. So back to the extension. Sorry, extension level. Okay, so let's edit one of the extensions and we can show, so we talked about the phone number that you can add there, and then under features, seamless transfer, and so on and so forth, ring simultaneously, and then the monitor privilege, the seamless transfer control, and then I think that's it for this. Let's go on a zero config and show you where you can add different subnets. So under the zero config, so right now you have the network settings. You can add the subnet whitelist. That means you can provision phones that are in that subnet. Seamless transfer, you can just go to, well, on the extension we showed that you can just enable it there, but if you go to general settings and then look for the feature codes. I'm getting familiar with this interface myself, so it's fairly new, so you just need to enable that seamless transfer so you can dial it. Okay, let's show a very new feature which is related to the call queue. So this is the my call queue, and so you've got the call queue statistics, obviously. So this is really enhanced. It shows you the call distribution by agent and call distribution by call queue. So this is a lot of people request, especially those that service call centers. They have a limitation with the UCM when it comes to reporting. So this will generate reports depending on what filters you choose, and you can obviously it will be enhanced. The report information, you can filter it for 1 day, for 1 week. So this is a very useful feature for a lot of you that service the call centers. And then you've got the switchboard. I'm sorry, this is just an internal firmware. It's not really polished yet. So you've got the waiting calls, the proceeding calls, and as well as the agents, their availability, how many calls they answered, how many calls they abandoned, and then you've got the options. I honestly say logged in, logged out. You can control it yourself. You can log in the agent, log them out. A lot of people have been asking for this. It's a really cool features for call centers, and this is what's been lacking. This is what people I've known a few of customers that I used to deal with on a daily basis when I was taking phone calls and handling the tickets. They ask for advanced call queue features or call center features. So hopefully this will be well, I won't say good enough, but at least acceptable to start with. And your feedback is always welcome to enhance this. And that's our switchboard. And log in. You go into the call queue. Let's edit the call queue that I called support. And here is your cycle of 60 seconds. You will play a prompt. I just recorded a prompt that says your call is important to us. And then obviously in that prompt you will give the caller the instructions to dial 1. I think it's 1 by default. Press 1 to opt out of the call queue and leave a message. But then in the advanced settings you have the callback. You have the virtual queue. So you can offer a callback after the caller timeout in seconds, or triggers on the caller request. Press 2. So in your in your initial greeting, you will say that. You will say, or you set a timeout, which is the virtual queue timeout 20, which is, I would say, it's so little, you will increase that to whatever you want. And then you can say, you were experiencing a high volume of calls, so you can press 2 to leave to opt out of the call queue, and the system will call you back. You will say, don't worry, you're not going to lose your place in the queue, so you will still, and this is enable position. And then you've got the CTI. This is coming, so for the chairman to be able to have a visual of all this without accessing. If Phil is not necessarily technical, so it could be just the chairman of the call queue, and he's the senior. Let's say we're doing support for something not really related to IT or technology, but Phil is the expert. He is the chairman, so we will give him the CTI access so he can log in, log out, and have his reports. And I foresee future requests to be able to receive all these reports via email. So I don't think it's available as of today, but I can check quickly. I don't see any reporting being emailed, but it's a nice feature to have. And once again, this is not a polished firmware. This is just our internal one that's released to us internally to test. That's about it for the call queue. You can dynamically log in agents. You give them the code for that to log in and log out. You can log them in manually yourself as the chairman or the super admin or through the CTI application. Let's look for the value-added features. We talked about the CRM. Unfortunately, I have nothing to demo here except I had the test license for 7 days, and it already expired, so they give you a trial version of 7 days, both of them, Salesforce and CRM. You just go there and copy the link that they give you for the CRM server here, and you should be able to do something with it to get an idea of how it works. Same thing for PMS, either HMobile or Mitel. It's also pretty simple. So for HMobile, you just need the PMS URL. So HMobile is a software that, well, I have a middleware for HMobile that we can probably try to do something with it. So this is what you're getting. So the application will boot up and you get something like that. And then you post the PMS. You need the phone number, my IP address on my computer. .192.190. And the username and password. So user ID 1235 is the password. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then site, I guess you get the site number from somewhere. Site number is hotel ID. You just put something, I guess. 1, 2, 3, and then you save that. Or actually, I'll put whatever it gave me, hotel ID. Not sure if it works this way. Yeah, and then you've got the room status. You have to create your rooms. So I have, so room number, I can make the room number is the same as the extension numbers. So extension 1000 correspond to room 1000, but most likely you would want to do something like this. Your room number start from 10 to, whatever number of rooms that you have, save. And this way you have associated your rooms with the extensions. And then from the software you will be, obviously this is a middleware. I can check in a guest by typing commands in this field here. I have XML scripts that will allow me to check in guests into this hotel. and then I have, action, check in, check out. So every time you check in a guest, they should show, the status here. I just created one room actually. You can create a batch of rooms. You start from, I should have started from 1000. So start room number will be 1011 because I already have 10. And then that's it. I save value of what? Save. Please enter the value between, there should be 4 rooms. That's it. There you go. Apply the changes, and now I have all my rooms associated with the extensions. So obviously I already gave a name for this extension, but in a hotel environment there should be no name. The name will be entered from the software because the room numbers will have different names I would say every day or every time the guest checks in. The extension will be associated with their first and last name. Or you can disable that. You don't need, you just identify the guests by the room numbers. And then what else can we say about the PMS? So every time you check in a guest, they will be reflected here. And then let's talk about the minibar a little bit. So first you create a made code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the code, their code, and then you put a same thing. Not sure if it will take it. So the maids, they need to authenticate in when they report that something has been consumed. So a code for the bottle of wine will be 12. Let's say I can just put wine beer. That's the name of the minibar, I think. And then custom prompt. I don't have anything recorded, but I should have a special custom prompt. Skip made, you should say username and password. Skip made authentication, you don't want to skip that. You want to make sure the maid is the actual person that's calling into the system to report that something has been consumed and stuff. So things like that. All right, and then in the minibar, I just created this. Yep, that's it. So obviously you need to have the software running. If you're familiar with the software itself, like HMobile or Mitel, all these settings will make sense because you know what you are expecting from the UCM. That's basically it, I think, for all the features that I spoke about in this presentation. Obviously the CTI integration, it should be just a port that's open. So just to summarize it, just to clarify, CTI for the phones is already available. If you go to grandstream.com and then you go to support and tools, and then you download the software GS Affinity. You have a user guide next to it. This will allow you to connect to a phone from your computer, which allow you to dial, receive calls, put the phone on D&D, dial feature codes into the server, and then you have the phone book, so you can click and dial, or you can copy and paste numbers from the internet directly to that interface and then dial from there instead of going every time to your phone. But we have the equivalent of this, not the equivalent, but something that's called also CTI that works, that is a CTI, and that works with the UCM. So once we have that software available, you will have to go and just look for the CTI server here somewhere. It should just say enable the CTI, and CTI server, here you go. By default, we'll put port 8888. This is what it's going to be working on. So once you have that software enabled, you install it, and it will ask you the IP address of the UCM. You give it the IP address of the UCM, and then you will and the port as well, so you connect over this port, and then that's it. Once you're in, you have all the obviously it will ask you for most likely the admin credentials or CTI credentials. You log in, and then you have access to a lot of features that you can enable and a lot of information you can get from the UCM. So we will keep you updated, probably do a live demo once this software is available, and we'll probably have a chance. I'm sure we will have a chance to do another webinar once this firmware is on the website, and we can go over if there are any features that we have not mentioned today. We will cover them then. That's all I have, Phil. I'll turn it over to you, and thank you everyone for joining again this webinar, and thank you.
Cool. Yeah, well, I've got some questions to go over. If you have any questions, shoot them over. Going back to something we said before, I just want to make sure that Tom was asking about, I thought you said something about country code being removed. I just want to clarify that for him.
Oh, we used to have it. I did not see it. Let me just go back to the UCM to make sure I did not say. So, so on the outbound routes, I don't have any trunks. Let me just create a trunk so I can.
They're seeing the.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll
just want to make sure.
I'll put it there in a second. So I'm just creating a trunk called Horizon. So on the outbound route, this is what I meant. Outbound route. So when you create an outbound route, so you see that we talked about the outbound blacklist, and let's just add an outbound route, and then calling rule name just out. So what I said was removed is actually the country codes that you, we had them for a while and they were removed for some reason, where it says you can dial to a specific country, so you just click it. But you can still, you have a pattern here where, let's say, instead of clicking the UK, I'll just put 011 and then 44x dot to dial the UK. But we used to have that list that says, you know, click UK and stuff. It was removed for some reason. It might probably because it was causing conflict. A lot of people do they work with the patterns and then they select those. In my opinion, that's why it was removed. But we did not remove the ability to let you dial to the UK or other countries. Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. I don't know the answer to this question. Do we support, I think the answer is no, but do we support redundancy with the UCMs or clustering or anything like that?
Well, that's coming. That's,
okay. That's what I thought.
High availability is coming. We don't have it as of today. It's not something I can promise for the next 1 or 2 months.
It's in the works, basically.
It's in the works, but we are working on HA, and you should have it, I'm pretty sure, by the end of this year. Yeah, and that's, I don't have an ETA, unfortunately, sure. I'm sorry, but we are working on that. It's going to be, I believe, a piece of hardware, and it's kind of like another UCM. I'm not sure. It should be that it's an additional piece of hardware that you network with any existing UCM. So you don't have to buy that specific model that will support HA, in my opinion. And once again, once we have more details about that, we will keep you updated in future webinars and trainings. Okay, that's the outbound route based on the time condition. That's something I spoke about, and I forgot to show you where it goes in the menu. So you just say, I add the time condition, and then you just say office hours, or you just change that office hours. Sorry. So your office time, you want this outbound rule to only apply on office time. Obviously, you're going to have to go to time settings and define what the office time is. Okay.
Cool. I don't know if this is something you can go through quick or something that might require more detail for some other time, but Tim's asking about SSL certificates and how to secure endpoints with them. I think this is more just general UCM stuff.
Well, the parts of the UCM is pretty simple. I can go over it. You can secure it. Just give me 1 second here. But if you're asking how you can create SSL certificates, then it's probably not something I I can show you, not at least not on this webinar. Um, Let me just go over that. Let's say you want it, on the phone. Let's say, I'm not sure if he's talking about the phone or the server side, the UCM, but you need to have the certificates ready. We can give you an easy way to do them if you're using our GWN router. It has a click, you just create them from the web UI. But you have to have the certificates, and we give you the where they belong. That we tell you, security on the phone, trusted certificates, and then you just upload them. But I'm not going to show or demo how you can create those. You have to create them from a server. It's not the UCM. UCM does not do that. Does not create certificates. So usually you would install something like OpenSSL. Generate a trusted CA that will have the public key and the private key. So the trusted certificates will let you know what the public key is, so you can have share the public key. So there is what we call an asymmetric key sharing, and then you have a symmetric data sharing. So you will encrypt the public key, the symmetric key of the client with the public key that's given to you through the CA, and then you will create a secure communication. So that's created from servers. Like I said, our GWN router allows you to create it just by clicking. You don't have to have a knowledge of Linux or Windows Server to create those. It does it for you. It just asks you, do you want a client certificate or a server certificate? So you create your client certificates, you download it from the web interface, and then you upload it here so you can connect securely. But no, the UCM, you have to have the certificates from somewhere, from your server, and then upload them for a secure connection.
Someone's asking about what PM property management services we are compatible with. I know it's H Mobile and Mitel, I believe, at the moment.
Yep.
And you mentioned something yesterday about some middleware, possibly.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I have from H Mobile. That's the one I just demoed. Basically,
Okay. Gotcha.
It's middleware because it's not something you would give to a receptionist to run XML scripts. That's more for that's more for technical people. I heard it can make third-party software be compatible with whatever it can talk to, like asterisk systems. So this would be a question for H Mobile. That would help him,
Cool.
And what I just showed you, it's just downloadable from their website, their middleware.
Can you set outbound route defined by users or user groups?
Yeah, so you have a filter there. So I can say this, we talked yesterday about the privilege, national, local. That's just a level of privilege if you want to go that way. Only certain extensions can dial through that as long as they have equal or higher privilege than that route. But once you select the groups filter based on the caller ID, if I select you to be you and myself are able to dial through this route, then the privilege doesn't matter anymore. Only the filter matters because it overrides the privilege. So yes, the answer is yes.
Cool.
You just filter based on caller ID.
All right, get any final questions you have over to us. Looks like we're on the last couple that I have here. Couple of people asking specific details about what our CTI is going to be able to do. I don't know if we can really answer anything yet, as it's not fully available or fully built out yet. So the specific question I'm looking at is, will it allow a set schedule to be created for calls to ring through or to redirect to voicemail or to another extension without the user having to manually log in and change it each time?
Yes, it will allow that.
Cool. Awesome. All right.
And I'm assuming more the call queue features, like log in, log out, the things that I showed on that switchboard, it would make sense to be able to do them through that software. And we'll keep you updated.
Tom's asking, or I guess confirming, outbound route country code blacklist will still be available?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just to, it looks like we're being pretty much wrapped here in just a moment. Just to be safe, a couple of people were curious, and I was trying to answer it through the chat, but we should adjust it here. What features today that we discussed are actually available now, and which ones are not? And
anything with a new web interface is not, because you don't have the firmware.
Sure.
The rest of it. So basically,
everything we showed in the slides is available.
Except the enhanced call features, the call center features that you don't have, and the new web interface which you don't have.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. So the so the interface that you saw, the newer one, that's coming in a future firmware upgrade. But a lot of the features that you did see, especially the ones on the slide, as you mentioned, are available.
And of course, for the CTI, I mentioned and I showed you where to download the one that can work with the phone. And the CTI for the UCM is not even available internally. So I had nothing to show. It's not even in the slides. I was just letting them know that it's coming.
Someone's just wondering generally about billing and what we offer for billing or what we support, or.
So for billing, we have CTI. Do not get confused now with a CTI computer telephony integration. Now the CTI I'm talking about right now is a Polish company that has a piece of software that does CDR API billing and so on and so forth. So it just talks to the UCM through the API port for CDR and recordings. So let me just go there real quick. So for billing, CDR. So in the CDR you have the API configuration. So we talked about it yesterday. You just need to enable it and then allow the IP addresses that can actually request the CDR information through the secured port, which is 8443 via HTTPS. And this is, you see that this field has TLS and SSL certificates, so you can secure it more. I'm not sure, I don't remember the name of the person that just asked about the certificates. No, you cannot download them from here. You get them from another server and you upload them here, and then you upload the same thing on your computer, so you can talk to the UCM through this port even more securely with the certificates. So here I'm letting anybody, any computer, to request the CDR records from this UCM. CTI, which is this Polish company called CTI Solutions, and GrandStream, if you just look it up this way, and certifies, there you go.
Oh, it's like a press release.
Yeah, it's okay. That's all I was looking for.
Oh, cool.
Just to show them the name of the company and where they can get the software. This is the name of the company that does the software that talks to the UCM through the CDR API. So you can install it, and it will be configured with this port to talk to the UCM, and it'll just give you a mirror of the CDR. All your CDR records will be downloaded and then filtered. So you're not going to download the CDR records all at once. You just filter by room number, and then there will be the billing included in that software. Number of minutes multiplied by the rates, whatever you do there, and that's the one that does the billing. I used to have same thing where they gave us. I think you can download the trial version and then you can pay for the whole for the software. You can just contact them. This is a link to their website. There should be a contact information. Switch to English from Polish, and they will help you with that software. It's obviously not a free one, just to make sure. It's CTI Solutions NCS Stat. This is what it's called, and it works with GrandStream.
Very cool. All right, I think that pretty much wraps up what we had to cover here today. Covered a lot of good stuff in the last hour and 20 minutes, kind of did an overview of all the new features, functionalities that we've added this year. Thus far, you got a little bit of a preview of some new stuff to come, new web user interface. We're actually holding this webinar again on a similar topic, new UCM features and functionality in about a month, I believe June 21st. You can sign up for that, and potentially at that point in time, we'll have more to update you on, and we'll be able to show you more in depth of, you know, potentially the new web user interface and some of these other features we were talking about here today. But you can sign up for that or any other training webinar if you go to grandstream.com/training center. That is one word. So it is grandstream.com/training center, all one word. Scroll down the page a little bit and you can sign up for all of our upcoming training webinars. As we talked about in the chat too, if you are looking for a more in-depth training, if you're looking to really get hands-on, to sit in a room with one of our certified trainers or somebody like Fareed, check out the training section of our website, which just real fast, I will give you the URL. We run, in conjunction with our partners, we run a lot of full in-person training events throughout the world. A lot of them are one day, some of them are multiple days. Gives you the ability to sit in a room with one of our engineers or one of our one of our partners who's been trained by one of our engineers to really get in depth and learn everything, not just about the UCM, but about, you know, our Wi-Fi products or video conferencing or anything you might be interested in. And the URL for our in-person trainings is grandstream.com/events/trainings. So it's grandstream.com/events, and it's actually /training, no S at the end. So grandstream.com/event/training. Or you can just go to events, click on trainings. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for being with us. Hope to see you at another future Grandstream webinar. I did record this. It is still recording. It'll stop once we stop the meeting. I will get this uploaded to our YouTube page. So the fastest way to get the copy of this is to just check our YouTube page, probably by the end of the day or the end of the day tomorrow for that. And again, we hope to see you again in a future Grandstream webinar. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.